Discover 3 sinister and spine-chilling caving journeys with unexplained horrors from the deep. The Anderson family thought they found paradise in Raven Hollow. Tom and Sarah, looking for peace, wanted to escape the city noise. This Appalachian town offered them fresh air and wide-open spaces for their kids, Jake and Lucy. But whispers of an abandoned cave nearby sent shivers down their spines. The locals talked about lost miners, hidden treasures, and legends that promised adventure. As they unpacked boxes in their creaky old house, the excitement of exploring the cave drew them like moths to a flame. "Let's check it out this weekend," Tom said, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. Yet, as they approached the cave, their joy shifted into something darker. The entrance was swallowed by thick roots and shadows, almost hidden from sight. An uneasy chill slid down Sarah's back. The air thickened, pressing down on them, as if the mountain itself was breathing, holding secrets too heavy to share. Once inside, they were swallowed by darkness. The light from the entrance flickered out, each step echoing like a warning. A low whisper danced past Jake's ear, causing him to stumble. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice trembling. But Tom waved him off, trying to shake off the dark feeling creeping over them. "Just echoes, buddy," he replied, though doubt tugged at him. Unbeknownst to them, their phones flickered and went dead. No service. No way to reach out. Dread settled in like a thick fog. The air was heavy, each breath a struggle against the increasing weight of isolation. The excitement drained, replaced by a raw instinct to flee. "Mom. Dad." Lucy's voice trembled, her small frame increasingly uneasy. Shadows shifted just beyond the reach of their flashlight, darting away from view. What lay beyond the glow of their weak beams? They pressed deeper, compelled by a force they couldn't explain. The walls felt alive, pulsating, whispering secrets of despair and hunger. They had read about the cave, but nothing could prepare them for the feeling of being watched. The echoes morphed, merging into a rising cacophony of cries, a painful chorus of miners lost in time. In the moment, Sarah noticed a flicker beyond the shadows, something watching them from the dark. Her heart raced, a bead of cold sweat forming at her temple. Before they could process their growing panic, a voice broke through the oppressive silence. "You shouldn't be here." It slithered through the air, chilling them to the bone. Their hope, once vibrant, crumbled, replaced by the realization they were intruders in a world with its own rules. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A sudden shifting of shadows sent a jolt of terror through them. The cave's breath grew heavier. What was once just the thrill of adventure morphed into desperation. They turned back, hearts pounding, but the dim light was now a ghost, swallowed by the blackness. Panic set in, every corner held a potential threat. The laughter of lost souls echoed, taunting them, making them question everything. Were they really alone? Or were they part of something darker? As they stumbled through the maze of rock, breath hot and labored, the sensation of being pursued trailed closely behind them. A figure loomed in the darkness, human yet distorted by shadows and greed. No longer was this a family bonding moment, it was survival against unseen terror. Desperation clawed at their throats, as they realized the cave didn't just hold treasures, it held something far worse. The absence of escape became their only reality. Could they ever find their way out, and who could they trust when all seemed lost in this labyrinth of darkness? Tom's heart raced, a wild drumbeat echoing in his ears as he struggled to navigate the pitch-black corridors of the cave. He could feel his family's fear radiating off them, a desperate energy weaving through the air. "We need to keep moving," he urged, though he felt more lost than ever. The shadows loomed heavy, flickering with a promise of doom, and the claustrophobic walls seemed to close in around them. "Are we going the right way?" Jake asked, his voice cracking as they stumbled forward, unsure of the world around them. It feels different now." Sarah clutched Lucy closer, her breath shallow. "Just focus on the way we came. There has to be an exit." But deep down, she fought against a creeping voice that whispered doubts. What if there was no exit? What if they were never meant to leave? A thunderous rumble echoed within the cave, causing the ground to tremble beneath their feet. Dust rained down from above, and the dark seemed to pulse around them. "Run!" Tom shouted, grasping Lucy's hand tightly as he propelled them deeper into the shadows. But every turn resulted in more darkness, each alcove appearing even more sinister, even more deceptively safe. Suddenly, a scream sliced through the darkness, piercing, raw, echoing terribly. Sarah gasped. "What was that?" "Don't look back!" Tom shouted, panic radiating from him. The flicker of their flashlight danced wildly, casting eerie shapes along the stone walls, until it finally succumbed to darkness, extinguishing their last point of light. The cave enveloped them in pitch blackness, swallowing even their voices. The silence became oppressive, a wet blanket smothering their fear. Was there someone or something else in the cave with them? Had they truly entered a place that could hold more than mere rocks and rainwater? "Is anyone there?" Jake's voice broke through the thick air, uncertain and fading. There was only silence, an icy grip that seemed to seep into their bones, sending shivers cascading down their spines. The air thickened, clinging to them, as if they had stepped into a wound long festering. As they hesitated, the echoes started again, a cacophony of whispers overlapping like a swarm of angry bees. It became a chant, a low, gnawing sound that seemed to resonate from the very core of the cave. "Go back, turn away, stop. We have to stop," Sarah shouted, her voice trembling under the weight of fear. But her eyes were drawn to one area, a faint shimmer emanating from the dark, a glimmer of something metallic. It lay just within the shadows, reflecting a dim, ghostly light. It felt like a lure, a siren's call promising salvation yet hinting at an unseen danger. Tom squinted, trying to catch sight of it. "What is that?" Without thinking, Jake took a step closer, knees trembling. "We should check it out." "I don't think that's wise," Sarah yelled, a desperate pleading in her voice. Just then, the cave quaked again, shaking loose chunks of stone from above. A low rumble shook the walls, and the whispers accelerated, growing louder, frantic almost. "Get back!" Tom shouted as a small rock fell, just missing Lucy's shoulder. Their instinct to flee ignited again, but fear held him rooted to the spot. They couldn't risk it, but they couldn't stay either. It felt like the cave was alive, intent on keeping them there, entangled in its dark grasp. In that moment, a cold wind swept through the cavern, drawing a chill that numbed them to their core. The whispers turned into laughter, mocking, echoing around them, as if the cave itself reveled in their terror. "You shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be here." Tom's heart sank as reality dawned on him. They weren't just lost, this was a hunt. And they were the prey. With one last glance at the faint shimmer, Tom steeled himself. "We need to find the exit, now." But as they turned to run, the shadows twisted around them, forming shapes too grotesque to comprehend. Would escape even be possible, or was their fate eternally entwined with the horrors of the cave? The chilling thought gripped them: what awaited them outside if they could find the way back? The darkness laughed with menace, and Tom's heart sank as he realized that finding a way out was only part of the horrifying truth yet to unfold. The chill wrapped around them like barbed wire, constricting their movement. Tom could feel sweat trickling down his back, a stark reminder of the panic taking hold of him. They had no light, no clue where to go, and the whispers, oh, the whispers. They only grew louder with each breath they took. "Keep moving," he snapped, though he could barely hear himself over the cacophony of voices that swirled around them. It sounded like they were beckoning each member of the family by name, coaxing them deeper into the darkness. "Tom!" A voice hissed, wet and dragging. It seemed to breathe out his name, tasting it with something sinister. He clenched Lucy's hand tighter, half expecting her to slip away into the shadows. "What's that?" Sarah whispered, her eyes darting around. Each flicker of movement in the dark felt like a threat. Was it the shadows writhing? Or just the eyes of fear playing tricks? Then Jake put his hands on his hips defiantly. "We can't just keep running. We need to figure this out." He sounded stronger than he felt. Tom could sense the trembling underneath his bravado. "Figure what out?" Sarah shot back. Desperation dripped from her voice. "We're in a nightmare. There's nothing to figure out." As if on cue, the cave trembled again, and sinister laughter echoed through their minds, intertwining with the whispers. It felt alive, breathing, feeding off their terror. "Listen!" Tom shouted over the rising chaos. "We need to work together. There has to be." A loud bang rumbled overhead, and dust rained down in a flurry. They were running out of time. "Let us just follow the sound. We have to," he shouted, taking charge despite his own uncertainty. With every step forward, the ground beneath them felt less stable. It seemed to writhe and shift like a living creature, toying with their fragile state of mind. Shadows twisted into shapes, dancing in cruel mockery. They pressed on, almost blindly now, clinging to hope and to one another, but the whispers morphed into guttural growls. "Stay, stay," they sang, as if the cave itself was pleading for them to linger, to become one with it. What lay ahead became an unsettling horizon, a faint glow pulsating in the distance. "Is that?" Jake squinted, disbelief clouding his thoughts. Could it be an exit? Tom felt a flicker of hope ignite within him, but it quickly met the icy grip of dread, snapping it in two. The very air thickened, it clung to them, heavy and suffocating. The glow seemed to pulse as if a heartbeat of its own powered it. "Don't be fooled!" Sarah cried, her heart pounding. The glow shimmered enticingly, invitingly. But a piece of her soul screamed that it was a trap, another layer in this nightmare. "Why not? We have to take the chance," Jake argued. As they moved closer, the shadows seemed to converge around them. The ground felt spongy and unstable. Just ahead, the glow morphed into a sickening green, and an ungodly sound emanated from it, a deep, resonating pulse that flushed their nerves with dread. "Stop!" Tom cried, pulling Lucy back as the glow erupted into an array of shapes. And within those shapes faces, twisted faces, mouth open in silent screams. "Run!" he yelled, but it was too late. The ground opened up beneath them, and they were falling, spiraling into an abyss of darkness. Before his world turned to black, one question gripped Tom with a frigid terror: what if the real horrors lay waiting below? There was a whisper, softer this time, wrapping around the thought: "Welcome home." They landed hard, the air knocked from their lungs as they sprawled on a cold, damp surface. Tom gasped, trying to catch his breath, heart racing. They were alive, but the suffocating darkness tugged at their resolve, wrapping tighter around them like sinister vines. "Is everyone okay?" he croaked, the darkness echoing his voice back, warped and twisted. He felt hands reach out, Lucy's small fingers found his, trembling. "I'm here," she whispered, though what comfort could be found in a cave that seemed hungry for their fear? The moment they stood, the ground shifted again, slick and treacherous. "We have to get out of here," Sarah shouted, panic breaking the steady sound of her voice. But where was here? The air felt thick, oppressive, as if the walls were closing in. Ahead, a dull red light flickered sporadically, promising something: hope or horror. "That way," Jake urged, starting toward it, shadows whispering behind him. Tom felt a pull to follow, but the whispers grew louder, spilling forth the secrets of their past. "Tom, Tom," they crept closer, laced with mockery in tones only they could understand. "Wait!" He yanked back on Lucy's hand. "We can't just go charging in. We need a plan." "A plan?" Sarah snapped, her voice strained. What could possibly be worse than this? She cast a desperate glance around them. Midway through the flickering light, her gaze stumbled upon something on the cave floor. "Look!" She gestured. Tom crouched down, squinting. A bone, white and cracked, lay half buried in the dirt, surrounded by a scattering of others. An icy knot formed in his stomach. "This can't be good." Jake reached out, touching the scattered shards, then recoiling as though burned. "That's not a good sign. We should go. Now." But the flickering light danced hypnotically, pulling them closer. Every instinct screamed to run, but curiosity rooted them to the spot. In a twist of twisted fate, he remembered their whispers. They had called each of them dark and seductive. What if the light led to answers, to the very heart of this horror? "Tom." Lucy's small voice quaked. "I don't want to go. I'm scared." He clenched her hand tightly. "I know, baby. I'm scared too." The creature of the endless dark, it fed on fear, and in that moment, they were a feast of terror. "A part of the truth lies ahead," a voice swirled around them, its source invisible. "Nothing will be the same unless you know." Tom's heart raced. The very earth seemed to whisper, urging them forward. "We need to face it together," he said, more for his own belief than hers. They all nodded, eyes wide, hearts pounding in unison, their collective fear forming a fragile wall against the darkness. Step by step, they edged toward the light, the weight of the void pushing behind them. As they neared, the red glow revealed a gruesome scene, a place marked by suffering, born of countless souls lost to this malevolent darkness. The flickering light steadied, revealing puppeteered specters bound in the stone, a horrible tableau that sent their hearts into their throats. Faces twisted in agony, mouths frozen in endless screams, trapped, whispering words they could not grasp. "Help us," they seemed to call, their hollow eyes alight with fear. "Run!" Tom cried, pulling Lucy as the realization hit. They weren't alone, and the darkness wouldn't let them leave. But as they turned, the darkness surged, chasing them like a ravenous beast prowling for its meal. The walls heaved as the whispers elongated, merging into a cacophony of desperation. Stay, what lay ahead, unanswered and lethal, threatened to swallow them whole. With panic surging through their veins, a single question echoed in their minds: would they have the strength to break free, or would they return to the horrors that awaited? Ahead, there was a turn, a narrow fissure marked by gnashing teeth of stone. A chance to escape or to plunge deeper into their own doom. "Tom!" Lucy shouted, her voice trembling with fear. "What do we do?" His decision would seal their fate. Darkness leering behind, a fresh whisper growing, taunting them. "Welcome home." With adrenaline fueling their flight, Tom plunged into the narrow fissure, arms outstretched as he pulled Lucy along. The rough stone scraped against their skin, pain mingling with the panic that consumed them. The darkness roared behind, an echoing growl like a beast starved for its prey. "Keep moving," he urged, voice strained as he squeezed through the constricted passage. Behind him, Sarah stumbled, her breath coming in short gasps. "I can't," but there was no time for hesitation. Tom glanced back just in time to see the flickering shadows closing in, clawing at the edges of his vision. He pressed harder against Lucy, their small figures inching forward as the fissure widened ahead. The cave opened up again, a yawning maw that revealed a chamber filled with hanging stalactites like jagged teeth. The dim red glow seeped through, casting an eerie light that danced off the damp walls. A nauseating sweetness hung in the air, thickening like molasses. What was it? Blood? Fear? Or something more sinister? "Over here." Jake's voice led them to a corner where jagged rocks jutted out. They huddled together, panting, the echoes of their fear rebounding off the walls. But still, the whispers slithered through the chamber, slinking in and out of their consciousness. "Can you hear them?" Lucy murmured, her wide eyes searching the darkness. "They want us to stay. They want us dead," Tom snapped back, desperation fueling his irritation. "Maybe we can talk to them, like they want," Sarah whispered, her face pale. "No." Tom shot back, the volume of his voice harsh against the heavy silence. "We need to leave. Now." A pulse of red light flickered in the distance, more pronounced now, and something shifted within him. That flickering, like a heartbeat, it seemed to thrum in unison with his own. Unbeknownst to him, Jake edged closer to it. "Maybe it's a way out." "No. Jake, don't." Tom called, a wave of dread crashing over him. But it was too late. Jake had stepped into the brightness as if it was a portal, a comforting embrace in the terrifying gloom. Suddenly, the air crackled, sharp and electric. The ground beneath them trembled violently, rocks shifting and groaning. Tom barely managed to grab Lucy's arm, but not before he caught a glimpse of Jake, a shadow engulfed by the light, his eyes wide with an expression of revelation that chilled Tom's heart. "Jake!" Lucy cried out, horror spilling from her lips as the camaraderie they clung to frayed painfully. "Don't go." But the light swallowed him, flickering desperately before settling into darkness. "No. No!" Tom yelled, anger and fear entwining into a dangerous cocktail. The whispers intensified, surrounding them, drowning out their cries, each voice laden with sorrow and twisted rage. As a fresh wave of shadows surged forward, the darkness bore down with crushing weight. The figures of those trapped seemed to reach out, hands grasping, pleading for release or perhaps a twisted vengeance. "Tom, we need a way out." Sarah's voice was shrill, panic overtaking her. But in that moment, Tom's eyes caught a glimmer of something on the far wall, a carving, ancient and dark, pulsating with the same sickly red hue. What if, he hesitated, the thought spiraling out in his mind. "I don't want to know what if anymore." Sarah screamed, ferocity fueling her. Yet the warm, inviting glow beckoned with promises of knowledge. The voice whispered again, "To know, you must lose." "Lose what?" Tom shouted back, defiance echoing. The truth hit him like a brick. "Not escape. Not safety. Your fears," the voice hissed. "Surrender to the darkness, and find what you seek." Every fiber of his being screamed to resist, yet curiosity and desperation melded into a single throbbing question. What lies behind that allure? With a final glance back at Lucy, who trembled in the grasp of fear, Tom felt his choice weighing against the encroaching darkness. The next flicker of light revealed countless eyes now turned upon him, each reflecting the weight of 1,000 souls. With a racing heart, he moved forward, compelled by the call of the abyss. "Tom! Don't!" Lucy cried one last time, her voice trailing behind him like a fading whisper. But could he turn back now? Or was he destined to plunge deeper into a truth wrapped in shadows? With blood pounding in his ears, he took a step toward the unknown, the boundary between safety and terror blurring at his feet. What awaited him in that darkness? What truth clawed its way to the surface? The moment Tom crossed the threshold into the bright pulsating light, the atmosphere shifted around him. It felt electric and oppressive, the sweet smell twisting into something acrid and metallic, like blood mixed with decay. He gasped as he stepped into a realm beyond comprehension, the shadows of the chamber fading behind him like distant memories. "Jake?" he called, but only silence answered, thick and suffocating. A changing void greeted him, a swirling tempest of darkness intertwined with threads of light. Shapes churned, flickering in and out like dying stars. In the heart of it all, Jake's silhouette emerged, suspended and serene, as if he floated in a dream. "Tom," a voice called, softer now, more soothing. It was Jake's voice, but warped, stretched thin like a barely held thread. "You have to let go of what?" Tom shouted, panic flaring through him. "You're in there. Fight it." The tranquility framed in Jake's eyes twisted Tom's gut. "You don't understand," Jake murmured, his body hardly moving. "I've seen everything." The allure of the warmth almost enveloped Tom, caressing his skin like a mother's tender touch. The terror felt distant. For a brief moment, the reality of their situation faded. He felt a pull, it beckoned like a siren's call, promising the truth, the meaning of their descent, to know the horrors and wisdom of those that dwelled within the darkness. "Don't listen to him!" shouted Sarah, breaking into his thoughts, her voice laced with desperation. She tugged at his sleeve, her eyes wide, reflecting the horror around them. "We need to find a way out, not get trapped in here too." The energy shifted again, drums pounding like a heartbeat, inexorable and wild. Shadows swirled in jagged patterns, their colors shifting from red to deep purple, rhythmically pulsing along with the voice that whispered, "Surrender to no Tom." Lucy's terrified scream sliced through the chaos, grounding him. In the far corner of his mind, the guilt of leaving her behind grew heavier. He could still feel her grip on the fraying threads of sanity. "Tom, please." The urgency in her voice ignited something inside him. The warm tendrils of the light felt menacing now. An image flashed in his mind, her face, pale and gaunt, lost. He couldn't abandon her. With newfound determination, Tom took a step back, severing the fragile lure. "I want to stay. I need to find my friends." A furious roar erupted from the shadows as if the very darkness clawed at reality itself. The air grew thick, suffocating him with an overwhelming sense of rage. Jake's expression shifted from calm to anguish, and he reached out, a frantic plea in his gaze. "You can't leave, Tom. We're bound to this place." But Tom didn't falter. He turned away, forcing himself to leave Jake and the intoxicating light behind. He sprinted toward the last flicker of red, the remnants of the chamber echoing with screams and howls of despair. "Wait. Come back." Jake's voice echoed, trailing after him like a lost ghost. As Tom ran, he felt the shadows thrumming with vibrating energy, desperate to reclaim him. The space warped and twisted, the path shifting beneath his feet. Every step weighed heavy, every breath a battle against the sticky darkness that clung to him like a parasite. That he stumbled into the main chamber, heart racing, frantically scanning for Lucy and Sarah. "Where are you?" he shouted, panic and guilt choking him. In the dim light, he saw them huddled against the wall, shivering. Their eyes were wide, locked on the growing shadows that began to creep toward them again. "Tom, we have to go." Sarah screamed, the terror in her voice piercing the air. But something was coming from the depths, an unholy wail, an agony so fierce it sent waves of dread crashing through him. Unseen hands reached out, grasping, trying to pull them back into the void. "What do we do?" Lucy whimpered, tears streaming down her cheeks as she pressed against the rocky wall. "We fight." Tom shouted, uniting his energy with theirs, defiance fueling his faith. But even as he urged them to stand firm, the darkness thickened and wrapped around them, dragging them inexorably closer to the abyss. The pulsating light flickered once more, a fleeting promise of salvation or demise. Just as they were about to be swallowed, a voice rose above the chaos, cutting through like a knife. "Are you willing to pay the price?" The weight of those words hit them. What price would they have to pay to survive this darkness? With dread anchoring his stomach, Tom turned to Lucy and Sarah, seeing them brace for whatever was about to unfold. What sacrifice awaited them when light and darkness fought for dominion over their souls? The shadows curled dangerously close, whispering promises of secrets and sorrow. Tom could feel the pressure mounting inside the chamber, squeezing against his chest until it felt like he might collapse. He glanced at Lucy and Sarah, their faces illuminated by the ominous glow, twisted in fear, and he realized they were on the brink of surrender. "No. We can't give in," he shouted, his voice a beacon in the encroaching darkness. "We've come too far." But as he yelled, the darkness surged, its tendrils reaching out to ensnare them. They felt it on their skin, a sickly warmth that made each hair stand on end. The air around them crackled, charged with impending dread. Tom fought against the instinct to turn and run, knowing that retreat would mean certain doom. "What do you want from us?" he yelled again, desperate for clarity amidst the chaos. The voice that replied was raspy, echoing from the depths of the shadows, resonating inside their souls. "Everything that you are. Your fears, your hopes, your very essence." Tom squeezed his eyes shut. It felt as though every trembling nerve in his body screamed for him to flee. But that wasn't an option, not now. He opened his eyes to find his friends trembling before the shadows, their resolve faltering. "Look at me," Tom urged, grabbing Sarah's shoulders. "Look at me. We're stronger together. We can't give up." As if in answer, the darkness pulsed, releasing a terrifying roar that swept through the chamber like a storm. It recoiled, retreating momentarily, as if taken aback by Tom's resolve. But the respite was short-lived. The shadows regained form, angrier than before. "Will you pay the price?" The voice taunted, full of delighting malice, its cruel laughter echoing in the chamber, churning with despair. "What does that even mean?" Lucy cried, panic seeping into her voice. "Whatever it takes," Tom answered. "I want to let it take you." From the depths of despair, a thin line of light broke through the creeping darkness, illuminating an ominous, twisting path ahead. The choice loomed, pulsating just like the shadows. Follow the light or confront the void. He could feel the weight of decision pressing down on them. "Run!" Tom commanded, adrenaline surging. The words were barely out when the darkness lunged, a host of shadows eager and hungry. He grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her into a sprint while Lucy stumbled after them. The walls, slick with moisture, seemed to ripple as they dashed down the narrow corridor, the shadows snapping at their heels like ravenous beasts. Tom's heart thundered in his chest, the dark whispers tormenting him, drowning out rational thought. They had to escape. But as they ran, the corridor warped, expanding and contracting like a living entity, as though the cave itself were a creature writhing in pain. "Where are we going?" Sarah gasped, her breath coming in ragged gasps, her eyes darting about, searching for an exit. "Anywhere but here." Tom snapped back, his pulse racing, visions of Jake and the warmth of the light gnawing at the edges of his mind, begging for his attention. Suddenly, an ear-splitting shriek shattered the air, a sound so full of anguish that it froze Tom's bones. He skidded to a halt, turning to face the source of the wail. The shadows coalesced, forming into a figure shifting and writhing like smoke. A face emerged. It was Jake's, twisted with horror as he cried out, "Help me!" Tom's heart dropped. "No! Not you too!" The shadows loomed around Jake, merging with him, choking his plea into agonized silence. Every instinct told Tom to run, but his soul screamed to save his friend, teetering dangerously close to the precipice of despair. "Tom!" Lucy screamed in a panic, grasping at his arm. "We can't stay here." Before Tom could respond, the darkness surged, and the figure lunged toward them, a howling vortex of despair. The choice pressed down on him like a vice: leave Jake to the void or face the dark forces together. He took a step forward, ready to fight for both his friends. But the very ground trembled beneath them, and the swirling shadows echoed around him. "Will you pay the price?" they chanted, a rumbling chorus that filled the air with dread. What price could he possibly dare to pay to confront this darkness? With resolution solidifying in his heart, Tom faced down his fear just as all the shadows converged. Would he find a way to save Jake, or doom them all to the same fate? The shadows swirled around Tom as he stood anchored in place, a small flicker of courage battling the overwhelming urge to flee. Lucy's grip tightened on his arm, her eyes wide and pleading. They had to keep moving. They couldn't just leave Jake, but they also couldn't remain in this relentless darkness. "Tom!" Lucy cried again, terror lacing her voice, "We have to go." But the shadows shifted, contorting to block their escape. From within the murk, Jake's face flickered in and out like a faulty streetlight, his frozen features twisted with despair and pleading agony. "Help me," he rasped, but it sounded more like a death rattle than a cry for salvation. Tom's thoughts raced. What could he do? The shadows seemed to feed off his indecision, vibrating with fury. Every passing moment tightened the grip of horror around them. The echoes of "Will you pay the price?" resonated with dread, mixing with the chilling whispers of the void, coaxing him to turn his back on his friend. "Tom." Sarah edged closer, her breath hitching. "We can't let it take him." Her voice was a lifeline in the dark. In that moment, Tom remembered the warmth of their shared laughter, the anteroom conversations filled with stories and inside jokes. Each memory flashed in vivid detail, igniting a desperate hope within him. "I can't abandon him," he said firmly, though his voice shook. The shadows quivered at his defiance, as if disturbed by the flicker of bravery. With a deep breath, Tom stepped towards Jake, ignoring the pulling chill of the darkness. "Hang on, Jake. We're coming for you." The shadows surged forward, a tidal wave of rage witnessing the attempt to break their hold. As Tom reached out a trembling hand, he felt an icy grip latch onto his wrist, yanking him backward. He stumbled but fought against it, pulling with every ounce of strength he could muster. "Tom!" Lucy screamed, her face alight with fear as she struggled to keep pace with him, shadows flicking at her heels. The writhing figure of Jake convulsed, his mouth moving but no sound escaped. The shadows twisted him further into their embrace, threatening to swallow him whole. "No!" Tom shouted, panic surging. He could feel despair anchoring him down, his resolve fraying just as he began to reach Jake. "Get away from him!" The darkness howled, its fury a vortex swirling around Jake's figure. It screamed at Tom, a cacophony of despair whispering all his worst fears and failures. It clawed at his mind, demanding he consider what surrender might mean, a price he never imagined paying. "Do it! Join us!" The shadows clamored, their insidious tones seeping into his ears. Tom roared, flinging out his arm again, desperate to pull Jake from the abyss. "I won't give in. I'll fight for all of us." In his defiance, he felt a flicker of warmth surge through him, pushing back against the icy grasp of the void. He felt Lucy and Sarah at his side, solid and real amidst the chaos, their presence igniting a flame in him. With renewed strength, he pressed forward, reaching for Jake. Suddenly, a blinding flash illuminated the suffocating dark, the warmth enveloping him like a protective barrier. Tom could sense the shadows recoiling, disoriented by the unexpected burst of light. "Take my hand, Jake!" he shouted, his heart racing. He could feel time stretching like a taut rubber band, every moment hanging precariously. Jake's eyes flickered toward Tom, hope and terror wrestling for dominance in his expression. Would he choose to fight back, or would he let himself be engulfed by the shadows? The tension hung in the air, bitter and electric. Jake's voice quivered, fear draped over him like a shroud. The shadows coiled menacingly, their grip tightening around him, desperate to pull him into their fold. The blaring question loomed in the chamber: would Tom's courage be enough to pull his friend back from the brink, or would they all be claimed by the unrelenting darkness? Just as Jake's fingers reached out, the shadows surged forward again, as if sensing their opportunity to strike. A new cry echoed through the black, this time, a bone-chilling laughter, a sound that spoke of ancient malice and insatiable hunger. "Will you pay the price?" It shrieked again, a sinister promise of all that was to come. Could they survive the night and face the ultimate choice? Or would the shadows claim them forever, hidden in the depths of the earth's dark heart? The darkness heaved, a living, breathing entity that pulsed with sinister intent. Tom felt the shadows writhe around him, feeding on fear, and he almost stumbled back. But he steadied himself, rallying his will as Jake's desperate eyes fixed on him. "Don't let it take me, Tom," Jake croaked, his voice slipping into a spiraling echo. The shadows tightened, thickening around him like smoke suffocating a flame. "Just hold on," Tom yelled, lunging forward as if propelled by a lifeline tethering him to his friend's existence. Before he could grasp Jake's hand, the shadows reared back, and a wave of cold washed over Tom, engulfing them in a bone-deep chill. The warmth he had felt only moments earlier was snuffed out like a candle in the wind. A guttural roar erupted from the darkness, a low rumble that shook the very ground they stood upon. Lucy and Sarah flinched, their faces pale against the gloom, eyes darting wildly for an escape that seemed to vanish with each breath. "Tom! We have to go now," Lucy pleaded, her voice trembling. A flicker of anger sparked in him. How could he leave? They couldn't abandon Jake. But each second stretched into eternity as Jake's face melted in and out of view, a ghost trapped in a nightmare. "You have to fight," Tom shouted, imploring Jake and himself. They were neither victims nor prey, they would emerge from this together. With renewed determination, Tom pushed through the shadows, fists clenched, heart hammering in his chest. It felt like battling an unrelenting tide. The laughter echoed around him, a chilling sound that twisted his insides. It was the kind of laughter that belonged to something ancient, something that thought of humanity as a joke. As he clutched his fingers toward Jake, Tom could feel the temperature plummet further. Each breath felt like inhaling shards of ice, and the darkness seeped into his skin as if trying to wrest away his very essence. Suddenly, a blinding flash cut through the void, igniting a flicker of hope. The shadows recoiled but surged again, their fury igniting the air, a storm of emotions swirling in the depths. "Jake! Fight back! Remember us!" Sarah's voice rang out, each word shattering the remnants of despair they faced. Across the divide, Jake's gaze sharpened, and for a fleeting moment, recognition replaced terror. Tom saw the flicker of his friend amid the darkness, fighting against helplessness. "Take my hand!" Jake shouted, his voice breaking through the static of chaos. Tom reached, but the shadows screamed louder, clawing at them with icy talons. The laughter transformed into a harrowing chorus of horrors past, history etched in agony, the mangled screams of lost souls that had paid the price. Just then, below the tumult, a whisper sliced through the din, soft at first, then rising like a dark crescendo. "Will you pay the price?" It was a question that echoed like a death knell, reverberating through Tom's core. "No!" He screamed against the rising dread, the shadows swirling like a tempest, threatening to swallow them whole. Then came a sudden rush. Jake lunged forward, fingers outstretched as their hands nearly clasped. In that split second, everything hung in balance. Would they actually escape, or was this final push all in vain? Tom's breath caught in his chest as the abyss yawned wide, ready to consume them, all of them. Then, like an arrow shot through the dark, a flash of light erupted from the core of the shadows, illuminating a pathway. But the laughter transformed, twisting into a wail, an anguished cry that spoke of betrayal and despair. "Who will join the shadows?" it howled, leaving the air thick with impending doom. As Jake struggled against the pulling darkness, his eyes reflected fear, defiance, and something else, something that sent chills through Tom. Without hesitation, Tom anchored his resolve. They had to make a choice now, and whatever that price was, it was clear the shadows would not relinquish their grasp without a fight. Would their combined determination be enough to shatter the dark hold? Could they forge a path back to the light, or would their stand end in a final descent into despair? The answer lingered on the edge of their fingertips, elusive and taunting, just out of reach. Tom's breath quickened as he grasped the very fabric of hope tugging at his soul. The darkness roared in response to his defiance, a rush of shadows billowing around them. It felt almost alive, feral in its hunger. He could sense Lucy's small hand trembling in his, and Sarah's eyes glimmered with fear mixed with resolve. "Together!" Tom shouted, and that single word reverberated back at him, echoing through the cavern like a solemn promise. They stood at the brink of oblivion, surrounded by whispering shadows coiling and tightening, feeding on the very essence of their terror. He couldn't leave Jake to fade into that malevolence. The pounding of Tom's heart synced with the chaos swirling around them. Each flicker of darkness concealed spectral faces, trapped within the stone and shadows, a tableau of despair that reinforced their urgency. With every ounce of courage, he shoved aside the fear that threatened to consume him. The way out, the path to freedom, was now clearer than ever before. "Will you pay the price?" The shadowy voices echoed, their taunts intertwining with his thoughts. Tom dismissed the dread. What price indeed? He was prepared for anything, for everything, even if it demanded a part of his very soul. "We can't leave Jake," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the haze. Her conviction fueled his own. With a surge of adrenaline, Tom plunged forward, eyes focused on the silhouette of his friend, who was fighting against the relentless darkness. Lucy and Sarah followed closely, hearts racing in tandem as they raced toward the flickering light. "Jake! We're coming!" he called, his voice rising above the monstrous cacophony of whispers. The shadows writhed, clawing at them, desperate to reclaim their lost prey. The moment their hands collided, Jake's fingers intertwining with Tom's, a brilliant flash illuminated the chamber, momentarily halting the onslaught of shadows. The warmth surged like wildfire, spreading through their bodies, igniting a sense of purpose. They were stronger together, bound by trust and blood, but the dark did not yield easily. With a wrenching howl, the shadows surged forward, reclaiming the space between them. This time, a tangible force slammed against Tom's chest, trying to drag him back into the void. "Focus!" he screamed against the deafening roar. "Don't give in. Fight, Jake. Don't let them take you," Lucy urged, her voice barely breaking through the tempest of chaos. Tom felt the tremor in her grip, the raw fear that coursed through her, and it stoked the embers of his determination. "Tom! I can't, it's pulling me," Jake rasped, desperation etched on his features. But Tom would not let go. He tightened his grip, his fingers a lifeline, his heart a drumbeat of defiance. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from their clasped hands, pushing back the malevolent darkness with incredible force. The shadows screeched, recoiling as the light illuminated the chamber, illuminating twisted faces and souls encased in stone, echoing their collective despair. "Together! Push back!" Tom shouted, feeling the energy surge between them, resonating through their intertwined destinies. The warmth built, choking the shadows' suffocating embrace, stripping them of their power, even if just for a moment. A wave of light erupted from their position, burning bright, swirling outward, swallowing the encroaching darkness. Tom could see at the exit just beyond the shroud, a faint shimmer of freedom beckoning him away from the abyss. "Run! Now!" he commanded, thrusting Jake away from the maw of shadows that threatened to pull him back down. "Take my hand!" Sarah shouted, reaching for the opening, her voice carrying the weight of necessity. Together they barreled toward the light, prepared to break the grasp of darkness forever, but every step felt heavy, almost as if the cave itself fought against their desire to escape. The shadows screamed, swirling in chaos, trying to snatch back what was theirs. They plunged into the light, a swirling vortex that consumed them whole, and as they crossed the threshold, a final wailing cry echoed through the cave. It ripped through the silence, laced with anguish and unfulfilled promises. Then, everything went white. They tumbled through the light, the sensation more a rush of wind than gravity. Moments passed like seconds, and in that dizzying chaos, Tom clung to the sound of Jake's voice, the warmth of Lucy's hand, the fierce determination surging through Sarah. In an instant, they stumbled out into the cool Appalachian air, gasping, choking on the sweetness of freedom. They were back in the world of light, beneath a sky splattered with stars shimmering against the night. "Is everyone okay?" Tom panted, surveying their reality, the panic surging through him until he saw Jake's shaken nod, but nothing was the same. The weight of the cave clung to them, shadowy whispers still echoing in their minds, a haunting reminder of their brush with darkness. Each of them carried a new scar, one etched deep within. As they staggered back, they saw the cave entrance gaping behind them, shuddering like a mouth ready to swallow again. Yet there was a sense of relief, too. The shadows pushed back, banished at least for now. I thought we lost you, Tom murmured, looking at Jake, who gave a small, grateful smile, edged with the lingering fear they had shared. Let us never talk about this again, Jake replied, though Tom knew better. The shadows would linger, but so would their bond, forged through survival. Finally, they walked away, the darkness receding but never truly dissipating. They had faced horror together and emerged into the light, forever marked by what lay beneath those haunting depths of ravenous rock, but deep down, they knew one truth: they would fight together, every time, as long as they had each other. A family bound by love, united against the darkness lurking within their souls. As the stars twinkled above, they took a moment to breathe, thankful for the violent beauty of existence, knowing they had escaped at least for now. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help this channel grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. We want to hear from you, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of showing support, and this is your moment to shine.